What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I'm here. I'm making this video right now because, you know, I'm reading through my stream, Bleacher Report of all the different articles and tweets and so on and so forth that are Dolphins related. And so I came across this article that I wanted to read to you from Dolphins Wire. It's by Kyle Krabs. I read you a lot of his stuff, but the dude's a fucking idiot. I just want to point that out. Like, almost every single point he makes is just stupid as fuck. I just want to say that. But at the same time, though, like I said, I do like to make sure that I give you different opinions, different perspectives, whatever, you know, information that they may have in their articles, because sometimes they do have some like actual stats and information, which there is some in this article. But his philosophies and his points and his purpose of this is, it just doesn't make any sense. So let me continue. So first and foremost, this article is, like I said, by Kyle Krabs on Dolphins Wire. It's entitled DeVante Parker Rising to the Occasion for the Miami Dolphins. Now real quick, let's be clear, honest, and let's be fair. He does have a touchdown in each of the past 3 games. You know, he's had, you know, some decent production and yardage wise and so on and so forth. So he is putting up some production, but it's by no means stellar. And I had in my last video, or, you know, my post-game video, I think it was, you know, I had mentioned that, yeah, he's got some production, so does Preston Williams, but neither of them right now are living up to true number 1 receiver kind of production. Now, is that all their fault? No, of course not. We have a bad offensive line. We have a bad offense in general. The team sucks, blah, blah, blah. The coaches are intentionally trying to fail at any given turn. So, no, it's not entirely their fault, but at the same time, again, they're not really living up to number 1 receiver status, and especially since DeVante Parker, he's even worse though in that regard, because he's had more time, right? Preston Williams is a rookie, right? So Preston Williams is performing just as well as DeVante Parker minus the touchdowns, right? He's got a few less touchdowns, although there should be, he does have a couple though on the season. One of them he probably should have one more if Brian Flores would have challenged that one potential catch in the red zone that he did have that got called an incomplete pass. So there was another example of Brian Flores just making ridiculous decisions. But anyway, so but, you know, Parker's been in the league now for 5 years. He's been hurt a lot. He hasn't produced even when he was on the field. At least not to number 1 receiver. That's what we drafted him for. That's what his skill set and body frame is for, to be that kind of number 1 receiver, that 50-50 ball kind of guy, that go up and get it kind of guy, so on and so forth. But he's never really been that. Anyway, let's get to this article. Don't look now, but DeVante Parker may be positioning himself to have Dolphins fans everywhere eat crow. Parker's first 4 seasons with the Miami Dolphins have been nothing short of a disappointment. The receiver couldn't seem to stay healthy, ended up in former coach Adam Gase's doghouse, and wasn't particularly productive even when he was able to get on the field. Now, first of all, Adam Gase's doghouse, real quick, I want to mention that. The reasons why Adam Gase was maybe upset with him at all, he was never really in like a full-on doghouse with Adam Gase, right? Like he never got, you know, taken out of games or held out of games because Gase was mad at him. He was just disappointed, really, if anything, because he could never stay healthy. He could never really stay on the field, and it seemed like he didn't really have that drive and you know, passion and you know, want and desire for it, like you gotta have in football, right? You gotta have the love for the game and so on and so forth, and it never seemed like Parker really, you know, had that drive. Anyway, and so when the Dolphins opted to renegotiate with Parker on a 2-year contract this spring, it drew a collective groan. Here we go again. But this time, Parker is playing for keeps. It's ridiculous. Maybe it's the added pressure of being on a short-term contract, or maybe the coaching staff is just really connected with Parker in the way no one else who has served on the Dolphins staff had been able to. But Parker looks like a different beast this season. Okay. Again, I mean, it's just patently false. Because again, he's battled with some minor injuries this year. He has been on the field for the most part. Those injuries were more in the preseason, the very beginning of the year, and so on and so forth. But he did have some minor injury minor injury injuries this season. But also, again, he hasn't. I mean, he's not putting up phenomenal numbers. He hasn't surpassed 100 yards in a game. And even when he's on pace for, you know, he's barely going to crack some career highs. But it's still not number one receiver type numbers. He's not going to break 1,000 yards, right? Like, at this pace, he's even going to have less receptions. Sure, it's slightly more yardage than in his career, and so a slightly better catch per average at this point, but he's not beasting, right? Like, even a lot of the catches that he's made, though, you know, most of them are like, you know, intermediate routes or something like that. You know, he's made like one or two spectacular catches the entire season. Like, look, again, I like the kid. He was the one that I wanted to take in that draft. I've been, you know, disappointed with him. I think a change of scenery would probably do him good overall. But look, he's not that, man. And it's just not accurate to say that he's playing like a beast or he's just a different beast. No, we've seen better things from him in years past. But it's just ridiculous fucking stupid media spins. Anyway, to date, Parker has logged 18 receptions for 284 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Dolphins' 6 games this season. That paces him out over 16 games to finish with a stat line of 48 receptions, 757 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Parker's career best in those categories to date: receptions, 57 in 2017, so he wouldn't even have as many receptions as his career best, but okay. Yards, 744 and 16, so he'd have a little bit more yards, and 4 touchdowns in 2016, and he'd have a few more touchdowns, if that holds true. So, I mean, which, you know, I'm sorry to say, but it's not likely that he's gonna, because, first of all, I mean, there's just so many different reasons. But anyway, even if he did, it's, again, still not like it's number one receiver. Anyway. So not only is Parker finding the end zone more often, he's making more happen with each catch. His 15.8 yards per catch is his best since 2015, and if the Dolphins stay committed to playing Ryan Fitzpatrick, that number should be considered stable. Okay, again though, that question, or that comment is super stupid too. What about having Ryan Fitzpatrick in there is going to make it stable? Because again, this offensive line has been garbage. This whole team has been garbage the entire season. The coaching staff is clearly trying to fail and trying to lose. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, he had an okay game, right? Again, he wasn't stellar. He was, you know, he was pretty efficient and so on and so forth overall. He still did throw an interception and what have you. And his stat line wasn't incredible. It wasn't spectacular, but he played decent. And the week before, he played well in a very short amount of time against a weak opponent who was tired. And again, if you just look at Ryan Fitzpatrick's career, there is nothing about Ryan Fitzpatrick's career that says stable at all. The dude's he set a record this year for starting on 8. I think it's 8. I think the record now is 8 teams. He has the most starts for any player on the most amount of teams. Like, are you kidding me? What about that says stable? The fact that he has incredible games and throws like 400 plus yards and a few touchdowns, and then like next week, the week after, will you know, throw like 4 pick sixes. Like, are you serious? What about that is stable? So what about fucking having Ryan Fitzpatrick in there is going to make DeVante Parker's numbers stable? It's just absurd. It's absurd. But we live in a world now where it doesn't matter what reality is. It doesn't matter what's logical or makes sense. People just say the most absurd shit just because it fits whatever kind of narrative that they are trying to fucking write. It's ridiculous. And that puts Parker on the fast track to remaining a Miami Dolphin in 2020. And, for the first time in a long time, a source of optimism for the fan base moving forward. This dude is such a fucking moron. Parker is not going to end up fucking being a long-term thing here. Even if he does manage to stay next year, it's pretty likely that they just let him walk in free agency after that. But here we go though. Let me read you this tweet though from Phins. Another potential trade to watch for. Wide receiver DeVante Parker. CBS reported yesterday that the 49ers are interested in his services along with a handful of other teams. I've been told the Eagles are also exploring trade options at wide receiver with Parker near the top of their list. Also, it's likely that Kenyon Drake could be traded at some point before the trade deadline as well. And his use seems to be going down. He played less yesterday than in previous games. So, look, I mean, DeVante Parker, Rashad Jones, Xavier Howard, Kenyon Drake, maybe even Albert Wilson. These are guys that are definitely potentially tradable. So, I mean, don't think that they aren't. And so that's the thing, right? So let's say the Dolphins trade Parker. Then what is fucking stupid ass Kyle Krabs gonna say? Oh yeah, Parker's on pace to have like a wide receiver number 2 kind of season if that manages to hold up, which there's no guarantee that it will, but he's potentially going to have a number 2 wide receiver productive level season, and that's reason for Dolphins fans to get their hopes up, even though he's most likely not going to end up fucking staying with this team, and there's even a good possibility he could get traded. Like, I mean, people just live in these crazy alternate realities and shit, and it's mind-boggling. Anyway, yeah, so like I said, that's what I wanted to get out there. I just wanted to update the trade rumors and then also discuss this Parker situation, right? Because I read that article and I just wanted to talk about it. So that's why I made this video. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. I hope you guys enjoy my videos and my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Make sure you share my videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Phins up.